Our next question is, if vaccines are required for school, why are some of these diseases we got rid of making a comeback?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And to answer the question, yes, technically, schools do require immunizations. And we'll talk about this in a moment. There are two ways that people can opt out of immunizations, especially in the state of Colorado. But the reason why we're vaccinating against something that might not necessarily originate in the United States is because everything is only a plane ride away. We live in a society where we're all connected and we can make a trip from one corner of the earth to the next in just a few hours via airplane. Most of the cases, I'll give an example with measles. In 2019, the CDC reported over 1,200 measles cases, and the majority of those were people that were unvaccinated from the United States that traveled to another country where measles was present, and they contracted the illness, they brought it back, and then they spread it around their communities as they went about their daily habits. And so that is the reason why we still vaccinate for diseases or preventable diseases that no longer originate in the United States. Now, back to the original question around schools requiring immunizations. In Colorado, they are required, but there are two ways that people can opt out of those requirements. The first one is called a medical exemption. And what this means is that the person or the child has a medical reason. They don't have a choice, but they have a reason that they cannot get the vaccination. So that means that they might have a life-threatening allergy, or they might have some sort of life-threatening illness that prevents them from being immunized against a particular disease. It's also worth noting that most of these medical exemptions only exempt the child from one or maybe two immunizations, and that child is protected against all of the other recommended vaccinations. The second way somebody can opt out is a parent who has a non-medical exemption, or it's also known as a personal or religious exemption in Colorado. And what that means is that the family or the parents of the child or school-age child have made a choice not to vaccinate. It's not that the child can't be or doesn't have a medical reason. They've just made a choice to not vaccinate. What they can do is they can sign a paper exempting their child from these immunizations, and the paper has to be renewed every single school year.
So is there a link between amount of individuals who opt out of immunizations for either of those two reasons? Do you think there's a link between that and the increase of some of those diseases we haven't seen in a really long time coming back?
So it's definitely possible. It's a really good question. I would say yes, that is one of the contributing factors. If you have any portion of your population that's unvaccinated and they are exposed to a particular illness, that illness or that disease has potential to take hold in that population and then spread it around to other people who have not been immunized. And as we all know, immunizations are not 100%, just like no medicine is 100% effective against anything. And so we might have people that may have been vaccinated, but their immunity has waned over time. And so they might actually catch a more mild form of the disease, but they could also still spread it around as well.